So in this video, we're going to talk about how to layer for cold weather bow hunting. And bow hunting is unique as that you need to be extremely mobile, yet you also need to be able to sit in the stand for a lot of hours in cold weather temperatures, especially like times like right now when you're heading into the late season and we're getting really, really cold temperatures in the teens, sometimes single digits, right? So all these things that we're going to talk about today are going to help you maximize your ability to stay in the stand, stay mobile, and most of all, stay warm. Well, let's go back a little bit, right? 2001, I'm deploying to Afghanistan. Army gives me this huge package of cold weather gear to go over, and it is called the extended cold weather clothing system or something like that. But it is a huge layering system. It takes you from a silk weight, really lightweight base layer all the way up to an extreme cold weather jacket, right? And that is developed over the years in the military, and I'm sure the gear they have now is a lot better than what I had back then. But it was from Polar Tech, so it was good stuff. It wasn't some cheap stuff. It was really good stuff. And what I learned through the years is how to take that layering system and maximize its effectiveness. And when I got out of the Army and started bow hunting, I really started fine-tuning that up until today, where I really have an effective system that keeps me out in the stand longer, right? I call it my thermal layering system. And in this video, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about things that you shouldn't do that you might be doing now. And we're going to talk about the gear that you probably want to use for this layering system. Now, the one thing this video is not about brands. I'm going to show you different brands and as examples in this video. This video is not about a brand. This video is about the layering, and we're going to talk about how some of the different materials are essential, right? So we're going to talk about things like Merino, polyester, fleece, all this stuff that's going to help you stay warm longer in the stand. So let's get into it. Hey, if you don't know me, my name is Mike, the Everyday Bow Hunter, owner of archeryhunting.com and retired U.S. Army Green Beret. Hey, if you like the videos, you want to come back for more, hit that subscribe button now. I'd love to have you back for more videos. Hit the like button, and most of all, hit that notification bell so you get notified when I do produce new videos. So in this video, as I said, we're going to talk about how to layer for cold weather bow hunting specifically. And what does that mean? It means that we are looking to maximize our warmth, our mobility, and we're also looking to manage moisture and sweat. The first part of my layering system is moisture management, right? As we talk about, we want to get sweat away from our body. We want to manage moisture, especially we're hiking after a stand. I said we have all this stuff on our backs. We're carrying it in, we're carrying our bow, and you're going to sweat when you have a lot of gear on, right? So we're talking about first layer being something extremely lightweight. And as I said, this is not brand dependent. So this is a 120 Merino from Sitka. It's extremely light. It is a combination item. This is their core Merino, and it has a combination of Merino, spandex, nylon, helps, accentuate that wicking process. But with the Merino, it helps really good with moisture management, also odor control. So get this first layer on us to get the sweat away from our body. Now, you have to watch out. The thicker Merino shirts, the thicker you get, the more that moisture is going to hold in there and not necessarily escape and move to the next layer as fast. Sometimes a pure synthetic layer there is really good and helps. But the reason why I focus on Merino for cold weather hunting is because when you layer Merino on top of Merino, it really accentuates that thermal layering I'm talking about. And the concept is this: we have this base wicking layer. Then we move to a mid layer, which is not really anything fancy, right? We already understand that we want that mid layer on top of there. We're going to put that on top of that thin wicking layer. And then the next layer after that is going to be our heavyweight layer. And that layer can be Merino, that's going to maximize that Merino on Merino thermal layering, or it can be a fleece layer, a polyester fleece combination layer. There's all kinds of different options out there for that. But my recommendation for optimizing the thermal layering is to do Merinos. For example, as I said, we have this 120 Merino right here. This is my wicking layer. Then I move to, and this is for my top, I move to my second layer, which is another Merino layer, which is a 250 weight, right? So now I have a 250 weight Merino that I'm putting on top of that. Now, the key thing is here, after my initial layer, and even on my initial layer, if I can do it, the thing that I want to have is I want to have like a half zip or quarter zip, because when I'm walking to my stand, we're talking about moisture management, right? We want to minimize our sweat. So if we can have airflow in there while we're walking to our stand, we want to have this stuff open. And I'll talk about what we do when we get to our stand as well, how to maximize the heat we're generating on our way there. And not all sweat is bad, so we'll talk about that too. So there's second layer here. We have a 250 weight. So it's a little bit heavier, but it fits over that layer. It's not restrictive. If you need to size up, you size up. And then we move into our next layer, which is going to be our heavyweight layer. Now, our heavyweight layer can be multiple things. Like I said, I prefer Merino for this because it's going to give me a really, really good, accentuation of that thermal properties of Merino. It's going to have good airflow in there, which airflow, believe it or not, with this is our friend, right? When you have everything so tight against your body, really tight, and you're thinking, man, I need to be really balled up and warm here. It's going to keep me warm if I'm really tight and everything's on me real tight. That is farthest thing from true. You need to have that airflow in there, a little room to maneuver. I'm not talking crazy, wide open, but I'm talking at least where it's not restrictive, right? When it's on you, you need to be able to move. Of course, we want to be able to draw our bow. So you need to have this. So when I go into my heavyweight layer, I'm going to show you a couple examples here of things I do, Merino and non-Merino, that work. Is I have like a 400 Merino here from minus 33, and or I use, like I have this First Light, which is a Merino. I think it's the Rugged Wool OZ or QZ or whatever it is, and it's also a 400 weight. I put this on, and those layers, as I said, I have that 120, I have the 250, and now I have a 400 on top. Now other options that I've used that help good, like I've used the True Timber here. I got a True Timber fleece hoodie to put on top of that, and that can be almost suffocatingly warm. I mean, it is this type of fleece like this can be really, really warm, and sometimes you might not even want to wear it to your stand. You might want to pack it in. I'm going to talk about packing here in a minute as well. But then I also have this. Another item is I have a windproof hoodie here, and this is probably in the range of probably a 250 or a 300. So it's not exceptionally warm in that regard, but it's windproof. And I'm going to talk about windproofing here in a second. And I can wear this when this isn't exceptionally cold out. It might be going down to like around the 30-degree range, right? But when we start going below that 30-degree range, we want to do things like that heavy fleece. You want to do things like the 400 Merinos we talked about. Sometimes then for that layer we're talking about now, if it's still in that like 30 degrees and above range and we're walking to our stand and we're just going in there with 2 layers on, and the rest of our stuff we want to have in our pack. So we need to have packable items that are packable. They're going to allow us to really warm up. So what I'll do a lot of times for that range is I will take in, I have like a ambient hoodie here from Sitka. It's got, good Polartec fleece in there that's really, really warm. I have another like puffy here that I can pack real tight. Both is extremely packable. Put in my pack. And this is a quiet, lightweight puffy from AIO. You're hearing noises from the actual paper on the hanger, not the hoodie, or not the midweight itself. Great midweight stuff that you can put over top of it, and that can be that third layer, right? So now we have that third layer. Now the thing we want to do after this, that's an essential part of my system, right? I talked about we have those 3 layers on. We have our lightweight or silk weight layer, right? Then we have our mid layer on, and then we go to that heavyweight layer, right? That third layer is our heavyweight layer. All these want to have zip open. Remember we said we want to zip open when we're walking to our stand. We want to have this open, and occasionally, get that airflow in there if we can as we're walking to help us minimize that sweat effect as much as we can. So what I've done now to accentuate this thermal system, when we get into temperatures down there below 30 degrees and we're heading into the 20s, teens, etc., is to start taking that heat that we've generated on our way to our stand. We get to our stand, we zip up. Before we ever climb the tree, we zip up. It might still be hot from walking. Don't worry. You need to zip up at that time, right? It's not going to change your sweat that much. And that little bit of sweat you have generated now, you're going to use the wicking properties of the stuff that we have on. And when you're up in the stand, hopefully that moisture is getting pulled away from your body through those layers. And the Merino really helps with this to get it away from your body. And then it should dry over time. That first hour in the stand with all that heat inside there, it should dry up. But now what we also want on top of that is we want to seal this heat in now. All that heat we've generated on our way to the stand, we want to seal that heat in. So now what I've done, and I didn't do it for years, and I've only done it over the last 2, is I now put on a mid or heavyweight windproof vest. This is an AIO Heavyweight Vest. This is extremely heavyweight and it's great for putting on, but what does it also do? Why a vest? Well, a vest because one, this is focused on my core now, but what is it also doing? It's keeping my arms free. So at this point, I can be warm enough to wear just that vest sometimes, right? If it's not that bad temperatures, I have those layers on, I have the vest on, I now have my arms free, I can climb, I can shoot my bow, all the things I need to do. That's fantastic for that. But then when I pack in, I will carry on my jacket with me, strapped to my back. Sometimes I look like a gypsy going into the stand, right? And then I put my heavyweight jacket over top of that. But what did I do? I minimized what's in my sleeve. Now in my sleeve, I don't have that extra layer that this vest is now protecting me from. I don't have that extra layer of stuff on my arms that's restricting me inside there, and now my movement's restricted. It's not restricted because I have that open. And this goes for, it doesn't matter what the brand is, that's AIO stuff. This is Numa cold weather stuff. I have the Sika Fanatic stuff sitting here too. All that stuff really helps. But this now, they all have to be windproof and highly water resistant or waterproof, right? If you don't have windproofing stuff on, right, especially stuff that covers your neck, right, so air does not go down, and then we want to seal in around our waist. So a lot of these items have what are cinch straps that you can cinch down, right, and you cinch down and it tightens it around your waist. So wind is your enemy as much as water is your enemy. We talked about moisture and sweat being your enemy, right? And you get to your stand, if you can't wick that sweat away from your body, you're now freezing. You're sitting there and you're going to freeze because you can't wick it away from your body. Same thing, wind, even the slightest wind in cold weather will pierce you and it will chill you to the bone. You have to stop the wind. And at the same time, with those windproofing items, you're going to seal in the heat. So now we have a double layer of windproofing over top of us in extreme cold weather, and we are sealed in. But what we didn't talk about that really helps us with this as well is keeping our entire body warm, is now moving on to our legs. Okay, let's talk about legs here. Now, when it comes to legs, I don't want to overheat too much when I'm walking into the stand, so it's a lot of balancing act here, right? A lot of times I like to have pants that have zip vents on them so I can have airflow there when I'm walking to the stand. I also like to use Merino base layer pants that are zip off pants that I can actually drop my pants and actually put these on in the stand because I can just zip them off completely, put them on the stand. All I gotta do is drop my pants down, don't have to take my boots off. And these are 3/4 leg and I can just throw them on. That's a great thing. But let's talk about the basics of your legs, just like we talked about with your upper body. Right here, I have what are the core lightweight bottoms from Sika. This is a synthetic layer. I like to wear this throughout the season. As soon as it gets a little bit cold, I like to keep just my regular lightweight hunting pants on, and I'll put this on, right, to wick my sweat away. It is extremely effective at keeping you warm with just a lighter pair of pants, and you can get that sweat off your body. Is extremely essential. I'll even wear merino underwear to help continue that sweat wicking away, moisture management, and it also helps with odor control. The one thing I didn't talk about is scent control. Merino wool, highly effective at scent control, right? So it helps you out with that. But I put these on and it helps me with moisture management. A lot of times I'll wear these and then I'll wear just a kind of mid-weight, like the Sherpa line pants here from AIO or something similar to that. I remember said not brand dependent, just something that I use for that. And those two items there in different cold weather can be enough, right? Down into mid 30s, that's definitely enough. But now Now, if we're talking about going down and we're down in our 20s and teens and below, now we're talking about layering up. And when we do this, I like to go into a heavy loader where I talked about these already. This is a 400 weight Marino, and I have a 350 Marino here. This is a First Light. These are -33. Excellent zip off pants. Wear that, and if I wear these, it's extremely cold. Just put them on where I can't zip them off, and then I will wear a extremely cold weather pair of pants like this. This is the Numa High Point pants with the Berber fleece and polyester. We talk about polyester fills like your, not polyester fills, your Primaloft fills like your silver and gold stuff that's really, really effective at keeping you warm. You can do down if you want, down pants, but that a lot of times your down pants and down parkas are extremely noisy. And if you can find one that's quiet, you can go with that. But the last and most important item that can help you even maximize that core warmth as well is bibs. Now right here, I have these Sika Fanatic bibs, right? And what do bibs do for you? Well, your bibs come up to here on you. They are sealing you from the wind, right? Remember I said wind is our enemy, and bibs in extreme cold weather situations are going to help seal your body from that wind, but also still has that windproof layer that's going to stop the wind in its tracks. You don't have any wind, and now you have the ability to seal that warmth in, and it comes up here. You put that vest on and that heavyweight jacket on over top of that, and now you have yourself a great heat control system, a thermal layering system that's going to keep you warm in the stand longer. And obviously, you can increase the layers here at any time. You can go 4 layers down in your lower items. Thinner items on top of each other are great, but remember, we don't want to restrict our movement. We want to be able to move. You want to have it where it's not so tight on you that it's restricting you. You need to size up if necessary for those top layers and ensure that you have that freedom of movement. We want to be mobile, remember, be mobile in the stand. Now we talk about keeping our feet warm with layers. I layer on my feet as well. Yeah, so I don't use a lot of the extremely heavy boots. The highest I might go is a 600 on my boots because I double layer my socks. I put a thin Merino sock layer, and I will only use Merino socks, or I'm sorry, but I'll also use alpaca. So I didn't talk about alpaca, but alpaca has a lot of the same properties as Merino, but it's even better. So if you can get alpaca, use it, but it's extremely expensive. Merino socks are a lifesaver. I'll use this thin layer, and then I'll put another layer on top of that. These are -33s expedition weight socks on top of that. And then those two with like a 600, even 800 boot are going to take care of you in most times until you get down into really, really extreme weather, or you've been out there an extremely long time. As I said, that walk into your stand is where we're generating base heat, right? We don't want to oversweat. We know we're going to sweat, but we don't want to oversweat. So we're going to take our time. We're going to have stuff open. If we can vent out in the sides, whether it's bibs or not, they have where you can zip down with bibs and keep airflow. So you're not sweating to death on your walk in. You get in, you seal up at your tree, you seal up, you put everything on, you put that jacket on, everything before you climb the tree. You now have all that heat sealing in. You get up there, and I guarantee you for at least the first 2 hours you're in the stand, you're not even going to think about being cold. Not even going to think about it. And of course, we're going to do things like we're going to seal that in with like neck gaiters, fleece neck gaiters, put that over top, Berber fleece or something like that. You know, a heavyweight beanie. We're also going to make sure that if we don't have, use these things if we don't have a hood. If you have a jacket with a hood, make sure that you're buying a jacket that allows you to have that peripheral vision in your hood, so where you can see all around you when bow hunting, and also allows you to draw and get that anchor point with your bow, right? So all these things are things to consider. You can substitute a lot here, right, using this system, but I hope that going through all this now, you've got a base idea of how to layer for cold weather bow hunting, how to use moisture management to your benefit, and how to stay mobile and flexible in the stand. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. And my next video, I'm going to talk about some of the best items I've tested over the last 2 years for cold weather hunting. And I think it'll give you a good idea of some things that I think are highly effective for keeping you warm. So until next time, I'll see you later.